Yeah. So tell us a little bit about it's Alam there, right?
Yeah, it's a lot. So yeah, well, first, I created a company called Backpack Universe Games. And it started out, Alarm wasn't actually my first game. My first game was a game that I made with my partner, Antonio Purdue. He has his own company, Roswell Enterprise, and we were bored out of our minds, like on our fifth zombie movie, and he was just like, "Oh my God, they all make the same dumb mistakes." And he was just like, "You know what? I wish there was like a game." And I was like, "You know what? It's 5 in the morning. We have nothing to do, so let's make it." And so we made like a very it started out very slapdash tabletop RPG about games, not about games, but about zombies, and it blossomed into this really cool, really in depth like zombie like game called LBHV, Life of a Biohazard Victim. And um oh my God, like we created different types of zombies and monsters and creatures like that. But like it that got shelved for just personal reasons. A lot of things were happening in our lives. And so I I started thinking and like writing about like high fantasy. And I so Alam is a high fantasy steampunk tabletop RPG, with various aspects of things that I fell in love with when I was a kid. Um, I mean, there's something about there's something about um, like summoning like a giant lightning like cloud and whatnot to just strike and explode a trolley that was like that's like headed towards towards a district, or just blending like deep fantasy like woods and forests with mechanical engineering. And there's something about that kind of aesthetic that's really pleasing to me. And I haven't seen something like that done really well. Well, there's Arcane, and Arcane's pretty good. Um, but it just in general, um, having that kind of aesthetic and having that kind of like background and world building was really pleasing to me. The first thing I did before I even put anything to before I put the pen to paper is I was like, okay, this has to be user friendly. It has to be, a person has to be able to see the art, see the cover, and be like, okay, take it off the shelf, read it, and boom, I can invite four friends, and we can start rolling dice and slaying monsters within an hour and a half. You know, um, and so like that was really paramount to actually creating the game. And then I just put my own spice to it.
So what do you declare as kind of like your own spice? What's the thing that makes it distinctly you? I'm curious.
So the characters that I created are very they're unique, but they have a familiarity. Oh my God. um, they're very familiar to people who are into like high fantasy and everything like that. There's elves and there's but like my personal spice that I added to it was the dynamic of the race in there, because there's elves, but there's three types of elves. There's the common elves called the Vorsor, the high elves called the Magi, and the woodland kind of elves called the Groll, and they all stemmed from one family and broke off and did their own thing. There's the in the hierarchy of elves, there's nine houses, and they all send down like rules and rule from on high. Um, there's the Orotho, um, who pretty much keep to themselves. They do not interact with anyone else. They are only interested in expanding, like very 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 like expansionist kind of tribe. There's the Craven, which like loosely based off of a mixture of like, oh my god. So like the Craven is, they're probably my favorite. I love all my babies, but like they're probably my favorite just in sheer design, because they're nomadic, um, but they all have different tribes and they all follow a set amount of like nomadic rules. Um, and when one tribe like finds another, they they say hello through combat, pretty much.
Okay, it's feeling very like gypsy to me, like those kind of people.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so like but there's camaraderie there, um like, and so there's several other races, yeah, and um humans are basically non-existent. They were there, and then a thing happened, and now there are two forms of humans. They are um, the Shikamari, who are the humans that are they're in the desert, and their city is called the Raphael, which is a massive city that has giant like crab legs. And whenever there's like heavy storms or like a really bad like monostorm that's happening in the desert, the legs retract and they extend a mass and they ride the winds of the storm. And then there's the DDA, the Doma de Agua, uh, and they are the remnants of uh, what remains of the human kingdom. And the only reason why they survived is because they were out in the water. They were like far enough away from the catastrophe to not be affected. And their role is, um, we welcome everyone. Like we everyone can fly underneath the banner of the boar. Um, and like there's just a bunch of other races and everything like that.
Well, I thought we were getting rid of the complexity and the need to read like entire manuals and family histories, bro. That was the idea.
Well, like, then that's the thing. Like each person, like that's that the complexities is not in the story. The complexities are in the mechanics, and that's when people like are kind of like there's like a barrier. um and so like that, and that's when I was just like, okay, let's have a very simple gameplay mechanic, but also scratch that min-max itch, you know and so my mechanics are very simple. A D12, you know do like does everything pretty much. um the the beauty about, let me back up. My character creation, my character creation needed to be under an hour. Like a person can create a character, a comprehensive character, like with their own spin, their own like uh philosophy, their own feel to it, under an hour. They can have their abilities. They can have, their perks, their like their racial like benefits and bonuses. All of that can be calculated within right now. I through several timing right now, the longest time it actually took, and this is like for children, that's between the age of uh 10 and 12. They took probably like 30 minutes, 40 minutes to create a really cool comprehensive character.
So I kind of have to ask the question because of the era that we're in, and the big push, like racial bonuses. And you actually do have differences between different types of characters, not pretending that everyone is great at everything at all times and all that.
Oh yeah, no. So
I mean, I understand the ethos that drives that, but at the same time, like, let's take all the spice out of life by doing that. Like,
oh, seriously, no. Let's like, and that's what boils down to every campaign is everyone's like a walking forearm that can just one shot everything. Um, and one of the things that I really enjoy about tabletop RPGs is that you can actually build a party that's really diverse and can specialize in one or two things. Um, but but you'll always get that person that's just like, oh man, I made a cleric and I kind of want to be a cleric.
clerics are awesome, but they're hard to play. They're kind of boring to play.
Facts, you're not wrong.
Let's just heal everybody in the party again.
I'll be back here. And so like and that was really honestly that was me. I was that guy that I would pick a character and and after several plays I'm just like, I'm not really feeling it. Um, so in the game, uh, so you essentially can play and be whatever role you want, whatever role you and your party need, you can be. And that's done by ways of weapon swapping. You get all of your abilities by equipping a weapon and then playing with that weapon and unlocking abilities.
Okay, that's cool. That's an interesting mechanic.
And the maximum amount of abilities you can equip is six, but between battles and between dungeons and raids you can interswap those abilities. So if you want to make a sword and board, like, tank that can also like back up and hurl SUV sized fireballs at the battlefield, you can do that. No one will ever be shoehorned into a position, because potentially everyone can play every position. Now, that being said, because we just talked about like walking forearms and everything like that, that you everyone has the potential to earn and build and create and have every ability in the game. There's over 160 abilities in the game. So you have the ability to learn every single one. It's going to take you a very, very long time, but you are essentially building your character exactly how you want it to be. Every character is like a personal fingerprint and thumbprint. It's personal to you and it will be just like how you want to play it. Um, but again, your party will dictate how, like, what character is needed and what character isn't. So if you're just like, man, we kind of got spanked last battle, we really, really, really need a tank, or we really need a healer or something like that. Somebody can be like, okay, I'll drop this weapon, I'll pick up this weapon, and I'll start learning magic.